Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is not the undercard. This is not the sideshow. This is the main event. My name is Ryan Baldwin. Joined with me, fellow analyst, fellow lover of sports, my right-hand man sitting on my left-hand side, Mason Shepard.
How you doing,
Oh,
man?
I'm doing great, Mason. Today is October 27th. This marks the very first episode of the main event, the All Sports Podcast, where we get to sit and talk sports all day long. Dream
Yep.
come true. And I am super excited to be here with you in the Green Studio at KNTU, deep in the heart of Denton, Texas.
Wow, this is a solid intro, man.
Hey, yeah, I've been practicing that one. You like that? I think it went off really well.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is the main event, very first episode, and we are going to go ahead and dive right in because y'all aren't here to hear us chit-chat. Y'all want to hear about the sports.
Yes.
And we are just over halfway in college football and just under halfway in the NFL. So we're going to go ahead and average it out and call it a mid-season special here on the very first episode of the main event. I think that the math checks out there, I think.
Yeah.
That'll work. Mason, top 25 here has got my head all kinds of just, I can't even process some of the stuff that's coming out here. Let's just start with the top four and go from there because I think we both have some opinions about these top four here. Georgia, Cincinnati, Alabama, Oklahoma. I think Georgia, Bama is fine. But I know you have very strong opinions about Oklahoma, so why don't you let me hear it?
Because I'm a Longhorns fan, and they did us wrong in that Red River Showdown. But no, we did ourselves wrong in that one. But no, seriously, Oklahoma, they're not impressive to me. Spencer Rattler, as I like to call him, Spencer Mediocre. He is not someone that it was proven in the Texas game. He is not someone that, in my opinion, can lead a team. He's someone, there are quarterbacks that can lead the team and play the field. He's just on the field. He doesn't play the field. He's just on it.
Right.
And I think you saw that, like I said, with the Red River game where they put in Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams did a better job. But that's also because Texas is bad with dual threat QBs. But, I think with Oklahoma, beyond their quarterback controversy, Oklahoma is just not really that impressive. I mean, look at the teams that they've played and look at what margins they've beaten them. It hasn't been handily like a real top four team. They've been squeaking by.
Yep.
And I think with Oklahoma, they're overrated, man. I don't see anything past that. Number 4, give me a break.
I agree. You got a 5-point win over Tulane that you almost lost on a comeback. You beat Nebraska by 7, West Virginia by 3, Kansas State by 6. Just a heartbreaker versus Texas where you only won by 7. Your only real handy win was against TCU, and you should beat TCU if you're a top 4 team.
Yes.
But they haven't played anybody else that's particularly good. And they haven't beaten the teams handily like you're seeing Alabama beat most of their teams handily, or Georgia. These teams that you're like, oh, yeah, okay. They're taking care of business.
Yeah. They're taking care of business. They're a top 4 team. Yeah, without a doubt. And plus, I mean, the first game that you said, it just solidified our point, especially mine. They beat Tulane by 5 points. Tulane. What are they known for? Matt Forte. That's about it. People don't even know where Tulane is.
New Orleans.
When you think of Louisiana, what college team do you think of?
LSU.
But we don't even have to do that because that's obvious. You think of Louisiana Lafayette or Louisiana Tech before you
Eurasian Cajuns.
You think of them before you think of Tulane. Jesus.
OU just, I don't know. That has to be just coming from a previous track record type deal, right? Something that they consider in the top 25,
yes,
the past performances.
Yes.
That's got to be where that's coming from because they do not look like that kind of team this year.
No, they're not worth it. But because they have a tendency to draw money in the sense of people will want to see the best team in the Big 12 go against the best team in the SEC or the best team in the Big 10, they think OU is the best drawing card, so they put them there. And it's ridiculous, in my opinion.
Well,
look at the games.
Pretty soon their strength of schedule is going to go up.
Oh, yeah. Ours will too as Longhorns, but I can't wait.
They're going to be introduced to the SEC a lot more often.
Yep.
The other team that we were kind of iffy about here, Cincinnati. AAC 7-0, and really just again, it's one of those things where their strength of schedule just kind of has me scratching my head about how you're number 2. You beat Miami, Ohio, but at least they beat all these teams fairly handily.
Yeah.
They beat Miami, Ohio by 35, Murray State by 35, Indiana by 14. They had a quality win over Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They thrashed Temple and UCF and then beat Navy by a touchdown. But nothing about that screams number 2 in the nation to me.
I think, and the reason that is because they're still not proven against a bigger school. Notre Dame is a big school, but let's face it, folks, Notre Dame is overrated. Notre Dame is, they're not worth it. I think, and a lot of people would say Notre Dame is the Popeyes chicken sandwich of, college football.
Whoa. What do you got against
the Popeyes chicken sandwich? And it's because it's good when you've had nothing to eat. It's fine. It's good. But I know too many people who will readily choose over them, as we've seen in these college football playoffs. I'm not saying Chick-fil-A's sandwich is better, but let's not act like Popeyes was great.
Well, hold on then. What kind of chicken sandwich are you going to go for?
I mean, hey, man, whichever one I'm feeling at the time. That's just how my stomach works. But
all right,
seriously.
just not Popeyes.
But no, it's in all seriousness, no. The reason for that comparison and the reason for why I say that with Notre Dame and Cincy is because Notre Dame is one of those teams. Again, it's like OU. It's one of those teams that has proven that, we can beat people. I mean, Notre Dame didn't even have a conference, but we're one of those teams that can beat, mediocre, mid-card, whatever type of teams. But when it comes to facing top-level teams, we lose. Notre Dame, like OU, has made it to the college football playoffs, and when they go against Bama, lose. When they go against Ohio State, they lose. When they go against Clemson, they lose. They have not proven that they can get it done. And I think, it's just one of those things. But, people go crazy with them like they did for the Popeyes chicken sandwich. They go nuts for them. They think that's the next big thing. And then, it's just a greasy pile of chicken. Okay.
Just looking at this top 4 makes me think how badly needed the expansion is for the college football playoff. I know it was going to be 12 teams over the summer before they decided that they were, with all the teams changing conferences, they were going to back off the deal and revisit it. 8 teams, I think, seems okay. 12 seems a bit much, but it's got to be more than 4 because if you look outside the top 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is 6-1 Ohio State, undefeated Michigan, 6-1 Oregon, 7-0 Michigan State. I think any 4 of those have at least a decent case to jump over Oklahoma, maybe Cincinnati, but we got to have more teams in the college football playoff. If for no other reason, then it's getting real tiresome watching. Alabama always takes up a slot, and then you have Ohio State and like OU and Clemson. Not this year, but
nope.
All these teams that basically get guaranteed a spot up top or close to it.
Yeah,
it's just maddening to watch every single year, and then we really need that expansion to include some of these teams that, maybe they make a run. Yeah, like we see a lot of times in the March Madness tournament. We see these teams where it's not necessarily the number 1 team in the country.
No,
it's whatever team is hot and whatever team is streaking and feeling good at the time. And I think college football would benefit a lot from that. And especially because, man, you look at this schedule coming up for the rest of these Big Ten teams, the Ohio State, Michigan State specifically, they've all got to play each other.
Yep.
That's
where we find out who's real and who's not.
Yeah, but like if all of them, if they each beat each other, right? Should any of them be like if Michigan's one loss is to like Ohio State? Does that put them out of top 4? It probably would, but I would argue that they'd still be better probably than OU or Cincinnati.
You see, that's where they would be better than Cincinnati. This is where I would disagree. Michigan is, I mean, let's face it, in college football, you have a lot of teams that are overrated. And I think with Michigan, if they lose to Ohio State, they don't need to be in the top 4 because that once again proves they can't even get past their big brother. They can't get past them. And I think if you are not expected to beat them, and they're not as good as don't get me wrong, Ohio State is not as good as Bama or Georgia, in my opinion. They never really have been except when Zeke was there and they went all the way and won it. But when you think of a team that can really beat Ohio State, you don't even think of Michigan past this point. You would really give Michigan State more of a chance, and even that's somewhat laughable. But I think when we get at Michigan, their biggest problem is what is Michigan? What is Michigan really going to do when playing someone that's worth something greater than the teams in the Big Ten. Because let's face it, the Big Ten is one of the most, if not the most, inconsistent conference in college football. Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, teams like that who rise from the ashes one year and then they fall back down into obscurity, or in the middle of the year they just forget that they were a football team. Then you have Penn State. Oh, Penn State always starts out so well. And then after the halfway point, Penn State just forgets who they are and that they are capable of winning football games. And then you have Ohio State, the team that produces the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, or at least some of them, and they are just not something that they're not something to brag about either. They're just not. So even though Ohio State always gets put there, and like you said, yes, it's always either Bama or Georgia or Oklahoma or Ohio State. They're always there. But do they really deserve to be? In my opinion, maybe Cincinnati hasn't proved themselves, but I would much rather prefer Cincinnati. And even though I'm talking crap about them, I would want to see Michigan in that point or whatever, because I'm tired of all these same 4 teams being there. I'm tired of them.
The expansion would just, if for no other reason, it gives more teams a chance to dethrone.
Yeah.
But if let's just say 19 ranked SMU beats Cincinnati, they probably don't go up into the top 4.
No.
It'd be a solid win, but I just don't see them getting up that high based on the rest of their schedule. But should they be, they would be in a top 8 or top 12 and have a chance. And who knows, what that kind of situation creates Cinderella storylines and miracle runs that you wouldn't otherwise get to see. And then, like you said, you're stuck with the 4 teams that just play each other constantly in the college football playoff because of past performance.
Yep.
And they just start off at, like, Bama starts off at 1 every year. Are they always number 1 every year?
No.
No, but because of what Saban's built there, they start at number 1. I'm thinking, why not just start everybody at 0 and just kind of free for all from there?
I would love to see that. Because this is the thing, and this is why March Madness will always be better than the college football playoffs. Obviously, will be. It's been going on longer, but the reason it's still a lot better is because it's unpredictability. Mm-hmm. You can't say when the season starts or halfway, Michigan State will come back and win the basket. No, you don't know who's going to win. It could be Villanova. It could be St. John. It could be Richmond. It could be anybody. Yeah, Gonzaga. It could be anybody you could conceivably think of.
Yeah, you have those teams that make the tournament all the time.
Yes.
But having to win, 6 games in a row?
Yeah.
In a best of 1 is much harder than just having to win 2. And you just got to show up 2 weeks.
Yeah, but
and that's it.
Well, then again, you can't really play, and I know you're not suggesting this, but it wouldn't be really smart to play a 6-game series in football. That's
you're not going to be able to play 6 in a row just from a scheduling standpoint.
That's ludicrous. Yeah. No, that would never happen. But I just think that as far as what you were talking about, Cincinnati or SMU, the reason I disagree with you in that they would be either one of them would stay in the number 4, or in SMU's case get there, is because it's just what you said. That Cinderella story. And what would a Cinderella story draw? Ratings. And what do networks care about? Ratings. And they would put them in there because of the fact that, well, we would get eyes on it. People would want to see what they could do, and we could make a lot of money. And that's the reason, honestly, I hate the college football playoffs personally, and I hate the ranking system because it's all about popularity contests and who can we put against who that's going to make the networks money. I just want to see who's the best teams.
I see. I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with you on that one. We can debate it a little bit here, but let's just say current trends continue, and you have Georgia, Bama, and the only time they're going to play each other is the conference championship.
Yeah.
No matter which one wins, they're both in the top 4.
Yes.
I don't think that's debatable. I think unless they drop another game, one of them, then I think they're 1-4 somewhere.
Yep.
Then if SMU beats Cincinnati, who do you have them jump over? If Ohio State beats Michigan, Michigan State, and Penn State, 3 more ranked teams, you're going to put SMU over Ohio State and have...
Yeah, I would.
Really?
Personally. Yeah. It goes back to what I said. Ohio State is expected to beat them because they do every year. Penn State chokes, Michigan doesn't beat them, and who else did you say that Ohio State has to play that's ranked?
Michigan State.
Exactly. Look, the reason why I would put SMU in there, it has nothing to do with ratings, it's nothing to do with Cinderella stories. It's because of the fact that they would be something new, for one. Two, it would just be that let's see what they could do, because I want to put teams in there that they're not, of course I have to earn it, obviously, but they're not expected to be there. Ohio State, what you just said is a typical Buckeyes fan thinking, we've beaten them before, why can't we beat them again? There is no, shock value to them beating Penn State. Been there, done that. There's no shock value to beating Michigan State. Been there, done that. There's no shock value in Michigan failing to beat them. Been there, done that. There's nothing about Ohio State's season that says they've earned it besides just the record. There's nothing that says that.
I'd say the same thing about SMU, except for them beating Cincinnati, but Cincinnati has only had one quality win too. We talked about that. So I don't know how they jump up that high from being Cincinnati. And again, not that I don't want them to be that high. I think that it would be good for smaller schools. Well, could be good and bad. If they go out there and get absolutely thrashed by Alabama in the first round, then for the rest of
I like
the
how
next
I like how you said could. Like we both know that won't happen.
The next decade is going to be like, oh yeah, well you remember when SMU played Bama, got absolutely destroyed, so we're not going to put an AAC team in there because they're clearly not on SEC level.
Well, they wouldn't anyway. And let's be real. Yeah, it would be nice to see that. And no, I'm not going to give Ohio State that because, again, those are teams they're expected to be. In my opinion, the reason why I think my position would be better than seeing Ohio State in there is because with my position, let's see the teams prove themselves instead of, okay, this team has beaten the same three teams that it beats every year to get to this point. What's new? So no, I would much rather give a team a chance and have them prove themselves than, Ohio State beat Penn State, they beat Michigan State, they beat Michigan. Didn't they do that last year? Yep. I don't see the value in that.
No. Is there any team in the top 25 here that you are just kind of shaking your head about besides, we talked about the top four, but anything further down?
We talked about this off air, but UTSA, that's hilarious. I know you have a real vendetta against Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina, man. I can't believe this team made it to top 15 in the country at one point. They have beaten absolutely nobody. They beat the Citadel. Kansas was their best win, and it's Kansas.
Yeah,
it's
a basketball school.
Buffalo, UMass, University of Louisiana Monroe, Arkansas State, and then they lost to Appalachian State. Their strength of schedule is nothing.
Can we say strength of schedule in that context?
Their schedule or lack of strength, their weakness of schedule
exactly
is God, that was another thing that just annoyed me to no end about the top 25 ranking is the undefeated teams basically get a freebie into the top 25 whether they deserve it or not, and we saw it with Coastal Carolina before this week.
Yep.
And we see it now with UTSA, who has also beaten absolutely nobody, and we know this because they're in the Conference USA with
Nobody.
Absolutely nobody.
My thing is also, why is BYU even on this list? Why is BYU on here? Why is San Diego State 21? It's ridiculous.
They're 7-0. It's the you're undefeated, and
I mean it was more rhetorical, but yeah, no, exactly. Wake Forest is on here. Now you tell me, Ryan, my colleague, the podcasting lion, Ryan over here. Please tell me who Wake Forest, San Diego State, and UTSA and Coastal Carolina and BYU can legitimately beat besides each other. Please tell me.
How about this? You read off the Wake Forest wins real quick, and I'll tell you if there was any quality wins there that would put them up in the top four.
Oh God, you know what? This is Wake Forest. Oh gee, oh boy. Let's look at Wake Forest. You know how many times someone has said, let's look at Wake Forest?
This is probably the first time in the history of broadcasting.
Yeah, exactly. Unless they're talking about the basketball
Here's
team.
Their schedule. So I'll stop you when I see a quality win over a good team.
All right.
Match up in the rest of the top 25.
So where we're going to start with Wake Forest, getting the stats here. So Wake Forest, Tulane, 3-7. Really?
Nope.
Wake Forest, 24 over Duke. 24-14 over Duke.
Are you sure? Are you looking at this year?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. No.
My bad, folks. It's scrolling.
This is still. That's how far back you have to go to find a
Yeah,
Wake
exactly.
Forest quality win.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, here's this year.
It was Old Dominion first, right?
Old Dominion first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Who cares?
not a quality win.
Old Dominion, Norfolk State.
Nope.
Oh God, Florida State.
Not this year.
Virginia.
Absolutely not.
Louisville.
Again, not this year.
Syracuse. Army.
Nope.
And now they've got Duke coming up.
Nope.
Let's just sit on that for a minute. Really, this is honestly ridiculous.
I actually Is the ACC even I know it's still technically a Power 5, but Clemson was the only thing keeping them a Power 5, and now they're not that anymore. The ACC is not a Power 5 conference in terms of quality of teams anymore.
Let me explain to you the two teams that keep the ACC going afloat. Okay, when Miami does well, people pay attention. When Clemson does well, people pay attention. When North Carolina, I changed my mind. 3 teams. When North Carolina does well, people pay attention. When those 3 teams don't do anything, who pays attention? Nobody. Because the ACC is nothing without someone to carry them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fact. And speaking of someone to carry them, Oregon is back in the top 25 again. How many times, and ladies and gentlemen, it's only been 2, have we seen Oregon get to the dance and lose?
I'm going to guess 2.
Exactly.
Okay.
There we go. Smart boy. But no, seriously, there are teams in here, they've got no business being in here.
I will say that if there was a uniform championship.
No, I know that's right.
Oregon has, except for this past week where they were supposed to be like duck eggs. I don't know if you saw that, and it was speckled and weird.
Nah.
That one threw me off. But other than that, they have some of the cleanest uniforms. So maybe they take that into
Oh
consideration.
no, Oregon's uniform. I think that's the only reason people watch them is because their uniforms look so good. Unfortunately, football is not a fashion contest. But you know what? I will have to give also the uniform award also to kind of Oklahoma State. They look nice with the stuff that they do. I have to give them credit, but they don't win anything either.
No.
But, it kind of depends.
Well, the best part about talking about college football is that none of this is going to matter
Nope.
in about 4 weeks.
None of it.
All of this could change. You've got the Big Ten bloodbath, which is going to be Ohio State versus Michigan State. And that'll completely change things up. And
Whoop-de-doo.
Bama and Georgia will play each other. OU doesn't necessarily have a walk-in-the-park schedule. And all this is going to be changed here in about 3-4 weeks when we hit conference championship time. And God, I can't wait to look at it again.
I can't wait to look at that.
I will revisit it then, but I think it's going to look completely different in about 4 weeks. And I love college football, man. There's just so much to talk about.
So good.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back because we're going to have the other half of our football preview. It's going to be the NFL, or the midseason review. It's going to be in the NFL, and things just keep getting spicier week after week. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the main event. We are still talking football because football is, in fact, the state religion of Texas, and therefore we must talk about it.
Yep.
Just under mid-season. And boy, I tell you, it's a tale of 2 conferences right now because the AFC looks like anybody can beat anybody, and the NFC looks very top-heavy.
Yep. For once.
I don't know how we're going to figure out the AFC, but let's just start with the hometown boys because that's easy.
Yep.
Our Dallas Cowboys.
Yep. How about them Cowboys?
Coming off the bye week, sitting 5-1.
Yep.
3-0 in the division.
Yep.
No, 2-0 in division. I apologize.
Yeah.
But still a firm lead in the division and primed to actually win it because the rest of the NFC East is just not good at all.
NFC least.
It's now the NFC least -1 because I think the Cowboys have proved they're not part of the least.
Right.
But Washington, the defense has not shown up, and Heineke has looked okay, pretty shaky. Philadelphia is a mess. Absolute mess.
It's Philly.
Jalen Hurts does not look like the quarterback that everyone thought he was going to be this year. They've had a bunch of issues with their coaching staff. And then the Giants are even worse off with injuries because they lost like half their offensive starters.
Good.
Man, it looks, and I hate to say this because it's the Cowboys, but it is wide open for them in the NFC East.
If we don't kick that door open, if we don't, I mean, no, this is the thing. Okay, so for one, I am really proud of Dallas. Not Mike McCarthy, but Dallas. I'm very proud of Dallas so far. I think that we are, because it's for so long, man, and this takes stats out of it. Dallas has not played like a team that wants to win. They have played like players who are happy to get a paycheck. You know, excuse me, Jalen Smith, who they just let go when he got his money after like one successful year, didn't do anything else. Tank Lawrence, he is the poster child for that, because once he got his money, where was he? And I understand, I understand getting double, but so does Aaron Donald, and look at him, greatest defensive player in the league for the last few years. You know, so when it comes down to playing with intensity, playing with purpose, playing with emotion, Dallas is finally doing it, and Dak Prescott is, in my opinion, the person to thank, because him coming back revitalized that team, and he has shown that he is going to put his foot down. He's going to keep his foot on the gas, and he is going to do what's best for Dallas. And I'm glad that the NFC East -1 is tanking, because I'm not going to say they all deserve to, but let's face it. Washington wasn't going to win anything. Philly wasn't going to win anything. And the Giants are the Giants. Do I need to say anything to that? No. I just think with Dallas, in my opinion, we're always the better equipped team. We just don't play like it. We always can beat Philly. We always can beat the Giants. We can always beat Washington. We can always win games. We just don't act like it.
Well, the flip side of that is that I'm still not convinced that we've shaken that yet.
Ryan, you're never convinced.
I'm never convinced until we get to week 18.
Which, I mean, I can't blame you. I can't say that I'm all the way on it, but I'm just going to ride this thing out and enjoy it.
I've grown up with plenty of Cowboys teams where you think, oh, man, we're looking good. This is the year. We're going to make a run. And then all of a sudden you're sitting at the end of the season going, how did we get here? We missed the playoffs completely. And
I regret those days.
I think the really interesting thing is that you actually, for the Cowboys schedule, you don't have really any key games until you hit week 14. That is your next divisional game. And you have Washington, which is your only team that you haven't faced yet in the division.
Yeah.
Then you have the Giants. Then you have Washington again. So you theoretically could wrap up playoff spot by week 16.
Well,
with 2 wins over Washington or West.
Now, where I will disagree with you on that is the game we've got coming up at Minnesota this week is very key, because, and for many reasons, Dallas is not good coming off of bye weeks, and Minnesota just came off of one. And I think with Minnesota, yeah, they're mediocre, but when they're at home and they've got that crowd and that horn and they're going insane, Minnesota knows how to play, and they just got Dalvin Cook back. And we've got the number 1 running defense, but we're going against a top-tier running back, and we're going to see how that holds up. So I would say Minnesota's very key. Also, I mean, we've got the Raiders on Thanksgiving. Now, we don't know where the Raiders are going to be yet, but at the same time, they're playing good football once they got Chucky out of there. So I just think that, you know, I would like to be in that mindset of the divisional games is where it lies, but we've got so many other games. Like, yeah, we'll beat the Broncos, and yes, we'll beat the Falcons. And yes, I think we can beat the Chiefs with the rate that they're going. But when we've got the Vikings at home, we've got the Raiders on Thanksgiving. I don't know, man. I think we've still got a few more games to go before we can talk about that.
I just think the fact that you have a 3-game lead in hand already is dangerous, because, like I said, you don't have to win. Theoretically, you could lose the next 6 weeks and then beat Washington twice, and you've got the division essentially wrapped up and are going to the playoffs in that. So that's what I mean by, like, these games are not necessarily not key, because they theoretically could be home field advantage seeding type games.
Yeah.
You know? Especially if you're going to play Arizona week 17.
Which is very scary.
That could be theoretically for number 1 in the NFC. So it's not that they're not key games. That's just I worry, because coming off a bye week where you have a 3-game lead in the division, or out for non-divisional games, and are still up 2-0, and you don't have your next divisional game until week 14, I can see it being very easy to kind of like take your foot off the gas, you know, start feeling comfortable, And that's the trap. That's where you start dropping games you shouldn't badly. And that's when maybe you go in and all of a sudden, if Washington picks up a couple of wins against in the division, all of a sudden you're looking at a division that's again kind of narrowed down.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think the thing for me and why I choose to maintain the belief that, that Dallas could wrap this up only is because it's what you just said. I want Dallas from here on out to play with the one game at a time mentality. I want them to think about, we got Minnesota Sunday night. We've got the Broncos. We've got the Falcons. We got the Chiefs. Because Dallas for a long time plays, in my opinion, and I think this is a phrase that nobody has said. Dallas for a long time has played like how sports fans talk. They play like, oh, we've got the Broncos. We can beat them. We're not worried. We're going to look past them. No, focus on them and beat them. Because the way I knew that Dallas is not playing like we speak is when they faced Tampa, and everybody was like, oh, Dallas is going to get blown out. And we could have won that game.
Yep,
we could have won it. And I think that's showing that, Dallas wants to play football. They want to win. We're still not perfect, Mike McCarthy, but I think with the way that we're going and the way we've got that one game at a time kind of focus, I just really hope coming off this bye week, Dallas did not waste their time, because if you've seen Hard Knocks, we all know how the Dallas Cowboys like to get ready for football games, and it's not necessarily the best, in my opinion. Coaches are not motivators. Even Skip and Shannon said that.
Well, man, the bye week, the most important part of the bye week, obviously, is whether Dak has been healed up.
Not worried about it. He's not worried. Team's not worried. I'm not worried.
He does not have an official practice designation. He went through an extended warm-up prior to practice, but did not take part in individual footwork drills for practice.
Good.
So there's nothing that says he's not going to play, and I think he's such a big part of the team that he pretty much has to play, unless they're looking at it going like, it's the Vikings in a game that may not necessarily mean that much. If we rest him another week, is there anything that...
If they did that, they're idiots. No. Like I said, yes, losing to Minnesota is not the worst thing in the world, but no, because this is what I mean when I say Dallas is playing, will be playing like how sports fans talk. Because a sports fan like us could say, oh, they could just rest Dak that another week and just, have Cooper Rush out there and he could play against Minnesota. No, put Dak on there. We don't need to be playing like, okay, everything, Super Bowl's next week and we're going. No. Have him play Minnesota. Have him go against that defense. Have that defense ready to stop Dalvin Cook. I know that's not particularly to Dak, but I'm just saying, get the starters out there. Play. Do not waste time thinking, oh, well, we can't. No, because if you want to say that, we could rest Dak until the Chiefs. Because you could say, do we really need him for the Broncos? Do we really need him for the Falcons? No, but at the same time, those are games. I would rather Dallas win as many games as they can versus, well, if we lose this, it doesn't matter. No, just win. That's all. Just win. I don't care what you do, but win.
Fair. W's make the money in the NFL.
Yep.
There are no moral victories. As we talked about during the Tampa Bay game when it was like, oh, we almost
that's where I disagree. Yeah, there was definitely a moral victory.
The moral victory does not get you in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, it does kind of give your team the swift kick in the dumper that they need. So
the rest of the NFC is pretty tightly contested until you get down to the last wild card spot. Arizona leading the NFC West and just a bloodbath of a division. They're 7-0 with the number 1 seed. Tampa Bay 6-1 leading the NFC South. Green Bay Packers 6-1 leading the NFC North.
Oh God!
And then obviously our boys leading the NFC East. And then Saints are 4, or the Rams and the Saints are 5-6, with the Vikings currently in the last wild card spot because we have that additional wild card spot this year again after they did it last year. That is a stacked NFC. That is very top heavy. I look at all those teams going like, maybe not the Saints or the Vikings, but at least 1 through 5. I'm like, I don't want to play any of those guys in the playoffs.
The worst team that you said that was 6-1 was Green Bay. I hate whenever I hear Green Bay leading. I hate it. I hate hearing that because that is the last team I need Dallas to be facing right now.
We do not have a good history with Green Bay.
No, we don't. Whether that's by refs or whether it's just by we're just not good enough. I hate that.
It does set up the juicy playoff matchup, though, with McCarthy versus Rodgers and the Packers.
I have a strong inclination that Dallas will have to face Green Bay in the playoffs because the football gods will just put that together. Now, will the football gods be in our favor? Who knows? But this is why I want Dallas to be focused on winning, because Green Bay, and that's why I want Dallas to win as many games as they can, because if Green Bay comes to Jerry World, that's going to be a lot better than us having to go to Lambeau.
Yep.
So, and we know what happened the last time we went out there. So no, but I hate hearing that Green Bay is successful. I hate it.
That last wild card spot, the Vikings are 3-3, Falcons are 3-3, Chicago Bears are 3-4, Panthers are 3-4. It's going to be kind of a whatever team can figure it out and get it together first is going to get that last wild card spot, because the Rams. Man, I feel bad for the Rams. They're 6-1, and their one loss is to Arizona.
Yeah,
and they're sitting there going like, "Man, we're good enough to win our division, but we got to go against Arizona twice."
Yeah, no. First of all, the teams that you just named, it will not be Atlanta, because Atlanta, no, they can't win anything. It will not be Carolina.
I don't think so either. I liked Sam Darnold to start, but he's just, and after the first 3 games, I was like, see. I told all y'all that it was the Jets that was the problem. It wasn't Darnold. And then what does he do? He shows that he may have actually been part of the problem. So now I don't know what to think. But
you're eating crow on that one, buddy.
Yeah. But is it the Bears?
No.
God,
no.
Justin Fields needs at least another year. But I just don't know. Like, one of the teams is going to have to win, right? I mean, they can't not take a 7th team.
Well, yeah, I know.
So one team's going to have to figure it out.
Well, I mean, so name the teams off again.
Okay, so you've got like 4 teams that are within a game of each other for the last wild card spot.
Yeah.
Minnesota Vikings, Atlanta Falcons, Chicago Bears, and Carolina Panthers.
I give it to Minnesota. I think Minnesota, because Minnesota, like I said, they may not always play the best. They may be mediocre. I mean, let's face it, Minnesota made the dumb decision to go with the guy who's mostly known for his catchphrases than his plays on the field. And all the guy said was, "You like that," and people thought it was the greatest thing they had ever heard. But I will give that to Minnesota. Minnesota usually does have a good quality defense, and their running game is very good, and that opens up to passes to Adam Thielen, who is a phenomenal wide receiver. And I think when you look at all these other teams, and we're not just going off of things that are not stat related, you look at Atlanta, and they're 3-4, but Atlanta is one of the worst in all the categories. They're not good on run defense. They're not good on pass defense. They're very bad on offense on the offensive side of the ball, especially in the running game. And when you look at Carolina, the quarterback controversy, Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. And yes, I emphasize that for you, Ryan. And I think one of the things that can halt Chicago's another instance of young quarterback, kind of young-ish team. And at the same time, it's Chicago. And they can't get past Green Bay, and I don't think they can beat Minnesota. They can beat Detroit all day long, but then again, I think one of our high school teams here could beat Detroit. So
I bet Coastal Carolina could beat Detroit.
Oh yeah, Coastal Carolina could do it. Yeah, give it to Coastal Carolina. That may get them into a bowl game right there, buddy. But no, seriously, I would give it to Minnesota strictly because I think Minnesota is more equipped with the right frame of mind. Like I said, they've got one of the best run defenses in the NFL right now. They're not like top 10, but I think they're like, the 15, 16 like rank-ish. But I think with the way other teams play, especially with the teams you just named, I have to give it to Minnesota.
Yeah, I think I agree they're definitely in the best position to.
Yeah.
But at this point in the season, 7 games in, it's really more about what team takes advantage of the position. The Carolina could win 3 straight games and Minnesota could lose 3 straight, and all of a sudden you're looking at Carolina having the edge there. So
yeah,
it at this point in the season is going to come down to who can figure it out and put the better product on the field, because that is super tightly contested, and I'm not ready to call it just yet. For any one team.
I mean, because the Vikings right here, I'm looking at the Vikings. I mean, they're number 8 in offense right now.
It's a good offense.
It's good offense. They 8 in offense, and the defense has only allowed 16 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
they are primed to take that last spot. Now, I don't think that they're going to make a run at the division. That they're 3-3, and they'd have to beat the Packers twice. So I don't think
Ryan,
that's definitely not an option.
No, Aaron Rodgers is on fire as he should be because the Packers organization is filled with morons who decided to draft Jordan Love. No, God, no. He's on a tear. He's coming for people's heads, and there's no way the Vikings are going to do anything to stop that.
Right. So
no way.
You're looking at basically the wild card spot, and you're maybe hoping you catch Jameis and the Saints and don't have to play or can go higher than 7th. But I think it's tough right now. The AFC now. Wow. So here's 1 through 7, and they are all within 1 game of each other. All right. Cincinnati number 1,
wow.
Las Vegas number 2,
wow.
Tennessee Titans 3, Bills 4, Ravens 5, Chargers 6, Cleveland Browns 7. And even Pittsburgh is like a game behind Cleveland. So
I'm not surprised by that.
And then 9, 10, 11, and 12 are all 3 and 4. So they're basically 2 games behind.
Yeah.
This conference is I don't know how to call this conference anymore. This is crazy.
Call it the NFC of today because you know that usually the roles are reversed in this, and it's the AFC that's top heavy, and the NFC is the one with teams who are just like all over the place and scatterbrained. I would say more so that when it comes down to the AFC, for one, people in Ohio must be ecstatic right now because they've got the Bengals and the Browns doing something. It's incredible.
The Bengals have been just ridiculously good. More so than I think anybody gave them credit for to start the season.
It's the Bengals, okay? When your catchphrase is "Who Dey," you can kind of get a feel for
What's the difference between Who Dey and Who Dat though?
With Who Dat, that's more respectable, and plus it's New Orleans. Can you not see someone from Louisiana saying Who Dat just in everyday life?
No, big. I lived out in Baton Rouge for a year, and even in Baton Rouge, I got people yelling at me Who Dat whenever I wear a Cowboys jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
that's my point. Who Dey? Come on.
But there's no denying that I think. Speaking of New Orleans, I'm sure they have a little bit of love for the Bengals with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase being up there and absolutely lighting it up. But
Bayou Bengals, yeah.
They thrashed the Ravens.
Absolutely
tortured.
Because the Ravens, let me tell you, the 2 teams that got found out are the Ravens and the Chiefs.
The Chiefs have been figured out.
Because those teams, the Ravens, they're showing big flaws in their offense, especially when it comes to Lamar. And the Ravens they're like Clemson in the sense, Clemson 2018, well, they'll take a beating in the first half and they'll try to come back. And the Bengals didn't let them. And they were at home, which makes it even greater. And with the Chiefs, they just got figured out because the Bucs showed how you beat them. You beat them when you get pressure on Mahomes and you shut any type of running game that they could have down, and you make Mahomes have to throw passes over and over again to the point he can't do all his trick shot stuff.
And I think it's a little bit of a vicious cycle out in Kansas City, right?
Yep.
The defense is banged up and definitely not as good as the past few seasons. So
even the past few seasons, the defense wasn't that good.
True, but they were at least good enough.
Yeah.
Now it's like you go out in the first quarter, first possession, you get scored on. Mahomes is like, oh man, okay. But then you go 3 and out because, you go 3 and out sometimes in football and it happens. But then when your defense goes back out there and gives up another score, now it's 14-0 and it's still the first quarter. And now you saw this with Mahomes in the game this past week where he was pushing way too hard to try and make plays.
Yeah.
The interception was a terrible throw into coverage. The fumble was one where he could have slid. He was well past the first down. But he was trying to make a play and trying to do too much, and he got the ball taken away from him instead. And when you can't rely, Cowboys fans know this all too well.
Oh, God.
When you can't rely on your defense to make a stop, it just compounds on itself because you keep having to try harder on offense to make a play.
Yeah.
And it's what we're familiar with it. And now we're seeing the Chiefs fans are going like, oh, what? I don't know what this is.
I think one of the things we're seeing with Patrick Mahomes is he's not, in my opinion, he's not very good under pressure. I'm not talking about just pressure from a defense. He's not good mentally when he has to take over a game. And I think that's what will separate him from being a Brady or a Rodgers. When the game is on their backs, they can handle it. No problem.
I think it is different when you have confidence in a defense where it's one thing to have confidence in like, man, okay, if I mess up, the defense still has like a 50-50 shot to hold. Whereas you're going like, okay, I've got to score. Otherwise, we're going to, definitely give up at least 7.
Yeah,
because
but
the
I
defense can't
would
hold.
strictly apply that more to Rodgers than I would Brady. There's nothing about a New England defense that's been super spectacular besides Stephon
There's
Gilmore.
at least a couple of Super Bowl teams where they
No,
had a solid
no.
defense.
I'm not saying that they've been bad, but I'm just saying it's like what you just said, solid. This isn't like Carolina or Denver where the defense carried them.
No, but as the Cowboys have shown this year, you don't have to have a good defense. You have to have an acceptable, average defense.
But that's what my point is. New England's defenses have been good. They've been, I would go on beyond exceptional, but they've been good. But when Brady was winning, sometimes the game would be down to him. When you couldn't count on the defense. With Rodgers, I give him a little less credit in only a little bit in that regard because he had Clay Matthews, he had some of the bigger guys up front, and I just think, and the secondary wasn't that bad. But I think when you look at someone like Patrick Mahomes, like you said, who doesn't have that, with Mahomes, it's more of a fact of it's on the offense. You know that as soon as you step on the field, it is on the offense. It's not on anybody but them. And I think when you can't, and I think when you go in knowing that, I think this kind of zaps your confidence, really, because that's what I've just seen from Mahomes. He's not playing with the usual swagger or confidence he has. Something has him really mentally frazzled, and I think it's the fact that he knows if I don't play well, we lose.
Not at this point, he's like, if I don't do Superman style left-handed throws, that we're not going to win.
Yeah,
I think he knows that because the defense has shown that they can't hold anybody.
Yeah,
and I do think that. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that makes a big difference in the psychology of it. Because like right now, if you say, okay, Brady, you're gonna, we need you to score. It's a tie game. Brady's going like, okay, I'm going to score because I'm Tom Brady.
Yes.
But he's also not thinking in the back of his head is like, man, I have got to score because otherwise the defense is giving up 7 and we're going to lose.
The perfect example is the Super Bowl against Atlanta. Martellus Bennett, who I'm a fan of, gave a great story. He said when they went into when they went into the locker room at halftime, nobody was frazzled. Nobody was like, oh my gosh, Atlanta's kicking our butts. What are we going to do? They all were just like Tom in the sense of, we're going to go out and we're going to play football. And they won. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. Even if teams score, a perfect example, when the Bucs defense didn't hold Dallas, when we went down and scored, but we left time on the clock, because again, Mike McCarthy, everybody, what did Tom do? He went down the field. Like I said, it doesn't bother him, and it's for the reason you just said. He's not thinking, this is on me, this is on me. He's just like, let's play football. And it's the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. He's not thinking, this is on me, this is on me. He's thinking, let's just go play football. And with Patrick Mahomes, he still, I don't think, has that veteran maturity yet of, this isn't on me, let's just go play football. He's still thinking, this is on me, this is on me. I've got to do my thing or else we lose.
If you have to pick a Super Bowl matchup now, we're just about halfway through the season.
You had to bring this question back, didn't you?
I did,
because you knew with Sports Zone when you asked me the first week I wasn't going to answer it.
I know, but now that we're halfway through the season, I feel like it merits an answer.
Yeah. So for me, as far as the AFC goes, I would still want to give it to Buffalo. Here's why. Buffalo, when the games get colder and the games have more weight to them, Buffalo shows up. And if it's not Buffalo, I will also say nobody from the Bengals division, because they're just not reliable to me. I think honestly this year could be between Buffalo and Tennessee, because again, those are teams that when the games start meaning more, technically Cincinnati did too, but Tennessee routed the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. So I think when you give Tennessee that opportunity, they could take it. But I will say AFC side, Buffalo. And on the NFC side, this isn't to be biased, but I think if we keep it going, if we keep it moving, Cowboys, Bills. We're doing it again.
Cowboys, Bills.
Cowboys, Bills.
Just like the 80s, right?
Cowboys, Bills. Because I think, and the reason I say that is because Dallas has proven if we can beat the reigning Super Bowl well, we didn't beat them, but if we could almost beat the reigning Super Bowl champions, and if we can go to New England and win, if we can go to here and win, there is no reason why Dallas should not have the faith, not the false fan faith that, fans like you and I talk about every year, or our good buddy Alec, but faith that, we can really win games. And if they can, I don't see why not. I mean, look, if you can almost beat Tom Brady, which again, almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, I know that. I don't see why you can't apply that logic, but better, and saying we can actually beat them to someone like Aaron Rodgers. I don't see why you can't do that, because we're going to have to play them at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I think, I say we go Dallas Bills. Go Bills and the Cowboys. I can't wait to see that one.
I am going to probably get quite a bit of flack for this.
Oh, you will, because I'm sitting here. Go ahead and say it.
AFC is going to be won by the Cincinnati Bengals.
No.
Yes.
No.
And let me tell you why.
Okay.
I watch the mic'd up videos, the compilations they do, that the NFL puts out. Now, hold on.
Okay.
I know you're laughing. I watch the mic'd up every week. And I believe it was 2 weeks ago, Joe Burrow was the one mic'd up. And
Yeah.
I think it was it was after the Jacksonville game.
Yeah.
And this kid, who is in his second year in the NFL, really his rookie year, because his rookie year was cut short.
Yeah.
Said at one point, I think the game was tied, and he's like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm going to go take over. Those were the exact words out of his mouth, and they have it recorded. And you know what he did? He went and he took over. That is something that you don't see from second-year quarterbacks. That is something you see from a veteran quarterback full of confidence that's won a couple of titles or a couple of conference championships. That is something that a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers or something, that's the kind of mentality that you need to go far in the playoffs. The rest of the team around him actually looks good. Jamar Chase has figured it out and is turning into a very handy, maybe already locked up rookie of the year. I know that's all. It's pretty early, but
yeah,
he's got the most receiving yards through the first 7 games of any rookie in NFL history. He is an absolute beast with the ball. I don't think he's quite the best receiver in the NFL. I think Cooper Kupp still has that one.
Yeah,
but this is a team where they look really good on offense, and the defense is serviceable, not fantastic, but serviceable. Out of the top 5 teams in the AFC, they have the second best points against behind the Bills. And it's just one of those teams where you kind of feel that they believe in themselves for the first time in a long time. And that can be a dangerous team will come playoff time and best of ones. A team that can believe that they can beat anybody very often will beat anybody. So I've got the Bengals for the AFC. I'm believing.
Wow, you're believing in the Bengals.
I'm believing in the Bengals. Now,
wow.
On the other side, man, if we get the Super Bowl matchup, I would be so happy. I think the Arizona Cardinals are the real deal. I think the offensive weapons that Kyler Murray now has.
Thanks to Bill O'Brien, by the way.
Thanks to Bill. Yes, thank you, Houston Texans former GM Bill O'Brien, for your generous donation to the Arizona Cardinals.
Right.
They got DeAndre Hopkins for absolutely nothing in return. Kyler Murray, again, this is preface. You had this kind of preface with the Cowboys, so I'm going to keep it for the Cardinals. If Kyler Murray stays healthy, there is nothing that this man can't do with the football. He's quick.
Yep.
He's accurate. He will drop dimes on the run or in the pocket, and the receivers are just so good. DeAndre Hopkins looks like he still is, 25. And he's been playing for almost a decade now?
Because I think the reason for that is because D-Hop has been one of the most overlooked receivers, because everybody was talking about, oh, you have your Julio Joneses, you have your Antonio Browns, you have your Odell Beckhams, who's overrated, and DeAndre Hopkins, hands the size of catcher's mitts, and he doesn't miss with that ball. He snags it. He brings in a fantastic route runner, and you know what? You know what the best thing about that is? He, in my opinion, could be like Larry, and with his style of playing wide receiver, he could be playing for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that with Kyler Murray, the Arizona Cardinals were geniuses when they put Kyler Murray in his rookie year, and there was no debate, because he got that experience being a rookie playing in the league.
Yep.
So he's like, okay, I'm going to have my ups and downs. And he did. And his second year, we were like, okay. Now we're just like, this kid is.
He's the real deal.
He's the real deal. He's blowing stuff off
Mhm.
the doors, man. He's incredible. And I think. I kind of feel embarrassed for overlooking Arizona, but I'm still sticking with my Cowboys because it's what you just said about Cincinnati, in that I think Dallas believes that they can beat
Oh, yeah.
anybody, and they can.
You watch Dak on the sideline, or you watch him in Hard Knocks,
Yeah,
and he's got that same swagger about him, where he's like, "Man, put the ball in my hands, it's over."
yeah, and I 100% agree. Let's go back to your AFC pick, and then we'll go back to the NFC.
All right.
The reason I don't want to give it all to Cincinnati, and it's not anything against them, it's just Cincinnati. But one thing you said, and I 100% agree with, when a team finally feels like, and for so long, that they've got a team, they will win, because we saw what they did to Baltimore at home.
And I'll be honest,
they blew them out,
I was not going to pick the Bengals until this past game,
and I don't blame.
where I was like, wow, that is a team that can go into hostile territory against a good. It's not like they went into hostile territory against Miami. No, this is a AFC championship contender themselves.
Yes,
Baltimore, and absolutely put their foot on the gas in the second half, and
41-17, ladies and gentlemen, 41-17. Beat him up.
The first half looked kind of close.
Yeah,
Not the second half.
beat him up.
Yeah.
Beat him up. And I think the reason I just won't give it to Cincy is it's ironic. It's the same thing with their college native. I need to see Cincy prove more. Now, if Cincy starts beating, excuse me, and of course this is easy to say, but if Cincy starts going on a roll, then yeah, I could see that. But we also need to see how Cincinnati fares in playoffs, because another thing that also is a detriment to what you just said was, yeah, if a team believes they could beat somebody, they can. But when a team hasn't been to the playoffs in so long, they get starstruck again and they don't know what they're doing. So we'll see what happens with Cincy. But to your NFC pick, Cardinals are amazing. I think that with them, because the NFC West is always just such a dogfight.
Oh yeah, the Rams are 6-1. They're
Rams,
to the Cardinals. Even the Seahawks with Russell Wilson and the 49ers, once they get healthy, are
dangerous.
They'll take a game off of you.
Yes. So we just got to keep seeing how the season goes. But I love Kyler Murray's play, and I just love how you can tell when a quarterback is comfortable. And it's kind of like back to what you said with Joe Burrow. He's comfortable. He's only been playing, really, what would you say, like 1.5 years technically since the rookie year was cut
His
short?
rookie year, he played like not even half the season, I don't think. So so he's got almost a full season of games under his belt.
Yeah.
At this point.
So it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm impressed with him, but we just got to see where they keep going from here.
It is, yeah. You do. I am worried, and that's why I was kind of like, man, a young team come playoff time can struggle just because they haven't been there before, and everybody. I know it's cliche, but you talk about that veteran presence in the locker room, and when your leader is not even a full, NFL season in, that can make things difficult. But it was hard to pick an AFC team because I was with you on the Titans as well. I think Derrick Henry is once again going to look like one of the top, or the top rusher in the NFL again, because he's just a monster.
Because it's Derrick Henry.
He's Derrick Henry, and I mean, but even the Chargers, they've had a couple of roadblocks, but they're 2-0 in their division. They're 4-2. They are hanging like just outside of playoff contention, and really they're only one game back from the Raiders because of the bye week.
No, without a doubt, the Chargers
4-2.
with Justin Herbert, another rookie quarterback who has proved himself this year from last year. Justin Herbert is a very special talent, and I think that with him and Keenan Allen and the Chargers, in my opinion, the Chargers are just a well put together team in that they've got a good quarterback, they've got a good receiving core. Everything about the Chargers, in my opinion, is good. It's nothing that you write home to your mom about, but they got Bosa on defense. They've got Herbert, they've got Keenan. They're a solid team, and in that division, they could beat the Raiders. They can beat the Chiefs. They can do all of that stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't count anybody out in the AFC.
Oh, for sure.
Well, as far as like the Chargers go.
Yeah, it is. We're primed for a great second half of the season. There's going to be a lot of, just like in college football, there's going to be a lot of movement back and forth. There's a lot of games late in the season that are going to make a big difference and that you're going to want to watch and pay attention to.
Yep.
And we will revisit this again down the road because I've got Bengals Cardinals and you've got Cowboys and Bills. I'm looking forward to seeing if either of those actually make the cut at the end of the day. We want to thank you very much for watching the main event. It's been a fantastic first show. Mason, I'm looking forward to a lot more of these.
Oh man, this was a good time. Time flew by. This is gonna be something you people want to listen to. Listen, not watch, Ryan.
Listen to it. You don't want to see our faces anyway. Just hear our lovely voices.
Yeah, exactly.
Big thanks to KNTU for letting us use the Green Room studio here and for hosting our podcast at kntu.com. Big, fantastic shout out to Mark and Dan, the station managers. Love all the opportunities they're given to us. We are going to be recording next Wednesday again.
Yep.
So we will have another episode for you next Wednesday. Love y'all. For Mason Shepard, I'm Ryan Baldwin. Have a great night.